There is a predator on this planet that has no equal. Not because it is the largest, not because it is the fastest, but because it has weaponized a currency more valuable than teeth or claws: culture. We call it Orcinus orca, the killer whale. But that name is a lie. It is not a whale. It is the largest member of the dolphin family, a superlative dolphin, 22 feet long and nearly 6 tons of pure, calculated violence. Yet violence is too simple a word. The orca is a strategist, a grandmother, a dialect-speaking, seal-tossing, shark-eating matriarch who remembers the hunting grounds her great-great-great-grandmother swam 100 years ago. This is not an animal. This is a dynasty. And to understand its insane biology, you must forget everything you think you know about predators. Because the orca does not hunt with instinct alone. It hunts with knowledge. And knowledge, in the animal kingdom, is the deadliest weapon of all. Let us begin inside the skull. The orca's brain is not just large, it is structurally extraordinary. Weighing nearly 15 pounds, it is 4 times heavier than a human's. But mass is misleading. What matters is the paralimbic system, the region responsible for emotion, memory, and social intelligence. In an orca, this region is so elaborately folded that neurologists call it hypercorticalized. Fold upon fold, surface area far beyond what its body size would predict. Why?
Because the ocean is a 3-dimensional desert. Prey is not always visible. Migration routes shift. Ice cracks. Tides turn. To survive in this chaos, the orca evolved not sharper teeth, but sharper relationships. This is the biological trade-off. A larger brain requires enormous energy, up to 10% of the orca's daily caloric intake just to keep it running. For comparison, your brain uses about 20% of your calories, but you sit at a desk. An orca hunts for 6 hours a day in near freezing water. So why evolve such an expensive organ? Because a single orca cannot survive alone. And a group of orcas, a pod, needs a librarian, a historian, a living map of the sea. That is the grandmother. Most animals reproduce until they die, not the orca. Females stop ovulating in their 30s or 40s, and then they live another 2 or 3 decades. Postmenopausal, non-reproductive, and absolutely essential. This is vanishingly rare in the animal kingdom. Only humans, pilot whales, and orcas share this trait. Biologists call it the grandmother effect. Here is what those grandmothers do. They remember. In the Crozet archipelago of the southern Indian Ocean, a pod of type B orcas hunts elephant seals. But not just any elephant seals. They hunt the seals that haul out on a specific beach during a specific 2-week window when the pups are naive and the adults are slow from molting. That window shifts slightly each year with the weather. The grandmother knows this window.
She has seen 60 seasons. She leads the hunt. Without her, the pod's hunting success drops by nearly 30%. Calves starve. Young mothers fail. But memory is only one piece. The grandmother also resolves disputes, mediates alliances, and most critically, teaches dialects. Yes, dialects. Because orcas do not speak a universal language. Each pod has its own unique set of clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls, a dialect that is learned, not inherited. A calf from one pod raised in another would speak a completely different language. This is culture. Pure, unbroken, marine culture. And it is why 2 pods of orcas, swimming within sight of each other, will never interbreed. They cannot understand each other. They are, in effect, different peoples
of the same species. Here is where the biology becomes genuinely insane. There is no single orca. There are at least 10 distinct ecotypes. Some argue they are separate species in the making, but 3 are the most famous. First, the residents. These orcas eat fish, primarily Chinook salmon. They are chatty, social, and live in massive pods of up to 50 individuals. They use echolocation constantly because fish do not hear well at the high frequencies of an orca click. Residents are homebodies. They return to the same inlet, the same river mouth, generation after generation. Second, the transients, also called Biggs orcas. These are the mammal eaters. Seals, sea lions, porpoises, and even other whales. They hunt in near total silence because their prey can hear. A harbor seal can detect an orca click from a mile away. So the transients have evolved to be acoustic ghosts. They click only to find prey, then fall silent. They ram seals off ice floes. They breach onto beaches to snatch sea lion pups. They are the special forces of the orca world. Third, the offshores. We know the least about these. They live in the deep Pacific, hundreds of miles from land. Their teeth are worn flat, not from biting bone, but from grinding down shark skin. We have found shark vertebrae in their stomachs. Sleek, silent, shark-hunting nomads. Here is the insane part. These 3 ecotypes live in the same waters. They swim past each other, but they never interact. Genetically, they have been separated for over 150,000 years, longer than modern humans have existed as a single species. They do not interbreed, they do not share territory, they do not speak the same language. Biologists recently proposed splitting the orca into multiple species. The debate continues, but the truth is already swimming in the sea. The orca is not one animal. It is a collection of hidden nations.
Let us now discuss the machine, because intelligence without athleticism is just philosophy. The orca has both. First, the heart. An adult orca's heart weighs about 400 pounds, the size of a small motorcycle. It beats just 30 times per minute at rest, but during a chase, it can surge to 80 beats per minute. Not impressive by human standards, until you remember that the orca is pushing 6 tons through water. Water is 800 times denser than air. Every stroke is a battle against friction. Yet orcas can reach 35 miles per hour in short bursts. That is faster than a great white shark, faster than a sea lion. How? The secret is in the rete mirable, a Latin term meaning wonderful net. This is a web of arteries and veins intertwined so closely that heat is exchanged directly from warm arterial blood to cold venous blood returning from the skin. It is a biological heat exchanger. Most mammals lose heat to the ocean rapidly. An hour in cold water can kill a human. An orca can hunt in the Arctic for 8 hours without a drop in core temperature. The rete mirable traps heat in the body core, keeping the brain, heart, and muscles warm while letting the extremities, the dorsal fin, the tail flukes, run cooler. This is the same technology you have in your car's radiator. Orcas evolved it 40 million years ago. And then there is the lung. Orcas are voluntary breathers. They choose to breathe, which means they can never fully sleep. Instead, they practice unihemispheric sleep. Half the brain rests while the other half remains conscious to surface for air. One eye open, one hemisphere awake. They have been doing this for millions of years. Imagine never dreaming, never fully letting go. That is the price of the ocean. To understand the full insanity of orca biology, you must watch them hunt. In the Antarctic, type B orcas, a 4th ecotype, hunt Weddell seals. But the seals hide on ice floes, out of reach. So the orcas do something no other non-human predator does. They plan. Up to 6 orcas line up shoulder to shoulder. They swim in perfect synchronization toward the ice floe.
At the last second, they duck under and rise together, creating a wave. Not a splash, a deliberate, choreographed wave that crashes over the ice, washing the seal into the water. If the first wave fails, they adjust. They try again. They communicate. They learn from failure. This is not instinct. Instinct is a spider spinning a web, perfect on the first try. This is problem solving. The orcas assess, collaborate, adapt. In New Zealand, we have seen orcas cooperate with human fishermen. The orcas herd fish toward the nets, then eat the stunned escapees.
In Norway, herring-eating orcas use a carousel technique. They blow bubble curtains to compress a bait ball, then tail slap the fish into unconsciousness. One slap, 50 dead herring. But the most terrifying example comes from South Africa. There, a pair of male orcas, nicknamed Port and Starboard, have learned to hunt great white sharks. Not kill, dissect. Port and Starboard target the shark's liver, an organ rich in squalene, a low-density oil that provides buoyancy. They immobilize the shark by flipping it upside down, inducing tonic immobility, a natural paralysis. Then they tear open the pectoral girdle and extract the liver with surgical precision, leaving the rest of the carcass to drift. Since 2017, Port and Starboard have killed over 100 great whites. The sharks have abandoned their own hunting grounds. Entire ecosystems are shifting because two orcas learned a trick and taught it to their pod. That is the power of culture. Not strength, not speed, information. And yet, for all their intelligence, for all their culture, for all their neurological sophistication, we have broken them. The story of the orca is not a triumph. It is a tragedy. In the 1960s and 70s, thousands of orcas were captured from the wild from marine parks. The most famous was a 2-year-old male taken from Icelandic waters in 1970. He was named Keiko. You knew him as Willie. Keiko spent years in a tank so small he could not complete a full tail stroke. His dorsal fin, which in wild males stands tall and proud, collapsed. That collapse is not natural. It happens only in captivity, from malnutrition, dehydration, and gravity working on a fin that evolved to be supported by deep water. Keiko was eventually rehabilitated and returned to Iceland, the first and only captive orca ever released. He swam free for 5 years. But he never integrated with wild pods. He did not know their language. He approached boats looking for humans. He died in 2003, alone, beached in a Norwegian fjord. He was 27. Wild male orcas live to 60. The science is now clear. Captive orcas suffer from collapsed dorsal fins, severe dental erosion from chewing concrete, and a mortality rate 3 times higher than their wild counterparts. They exhibit stereotypic behaviors, swimming in endless loops, grinding their teeth to nubs. But here is the deeper horror. We have seen what they are. We have measured their brains. We have recorded their dialects. We know they have culture, language, and grandmothers who remember. And we still put them in bathtubs for applause. That is not ignorance. That is a choice. Today, the greatest threat to orcas is not captivity. It is silence. The slow, unglamorous extinction of their cultures. The southern resident orcas, the fish-eating residents of the Pacific Northwest, number just 73 individuals. They are starving. Their primary prey, Chinook salmon, has been decimated by dams, overfishing, and habitat destruction. The grandmothers remember rivers that no longer exist. And the noise. Cargo ships, sonar, seismic blasting for oil, all of it drowns out the orcas' calls. They cannot hear each other. They cannot hunt. A newborn calf cries out, and its mother, 50 yards away, cannot answer.
Noise pollution is not an annoyance to an orca. It is a sensory deprivation tank. It unplugs their language. It silences their culture. We are watching the slow erasure of the most complex non-human society on Earth. And we are doing it with indifference. But here is the final insane truth about the orca. It is not too late. We know how to fix this. Remove dams on salmon rivers, slow cargo ships, design quieter propellers, protect the grandmothers. Because a pod without a grandmother is a pod without a future. The orca has survived ice ages, sea level changes, and the collapse of entire prey populations. It has done so not by evolving bigger teeth, but by evolving memory. By trusting the oldest female to lead. By passing knowledge down through generations of clicks and whistles and waves that break just right to wash a seal off an ice floe. That is the insane biology of the orca. It is not a killing machine. It is a living library. Each pod a different volume. Each grandmother a librarian. Each calf a new page. We are the first predator in history to recognize this. We are also the only one with a choice. Choose wisely.